It's been nearly a year and a half since I picked up the Hellcat Pro. A year and a half, over 5,000 rounds, a dozen or so upgrades, and now I'm pretty sure that this Hellcat Pro has reached its final form. As I start diving into, testing and upgrading the Springfield Echelon, I thought that it would be wise to go ahead and do kind of an update video on the Hellcat Pro before I get totally bogged down with the Echelon. So today we're going to do an overview of the Hellcat Pro, some of the upgrades that we've done on it, and where I stand with it now that I've put as many rounds through it as I have. As a lot of you know, I started with a stock Hellcat Pro and I pretty much went wild with it. These Talon Pro grips, they were pretty much a must. That adaptive grip that the Hellcat Pro has, for the first 1,000 or so rounds, it wasn't horrible, but the more that I shot it, the more that it kind of smoothed out. At a certain point, I had to make a decision. Either spend a couple $100, send it off and have it stippled, or spend 25 bucks and order a set of Talon grips. Honestly, I'm glad that I went with the Talon grips. The Talon Pro grip, it's one of those upgrades that I really recommend that everybody do on their Hellcat Pro. I, of course, have the Apex Classic trigger and extended mag release on here. Now, I always fall back to Apex when it comes to triggers. It boils down to performance and the trust that I have in the manufacturer and their testing process. With any gun, not just the Hellcat Pro, if you're going to change trigger systems, you really need to go with a company that you trust. A company whose trigger is safe and that you know it's not going to fail you. For me, that's Apex. I've seen how they test their products, and when it comes to reliability, Apex just has it. So this Hellcat Pro, I have the classic trigger. This is the first one that they put out. My other Hellcat Pro, I have the new Type 3. I actually prefer the Type 3, but between the two, it's just a little bit of a visual difference. I think the Type 3 looks better, feels a little bit better on the finger, but either one is going to be a solid choice. The extended mag release is another good upgrade. Now, the stock mag release, it's not bad. It's just that the Apex is a little bit better. I'm actually surprised at how much I like the feel of the Apex mag release for the Hellcat Pro. Okay, what's next? How about sights? I have the Holosun 407K mounted here using the C&H Precision adapter plate. Links for everything down below with some discount codes if you're into that. The 407K is probably my favorite optic right now, and that has everything to do with the dot. For this size optic, Holosun has the 407K and the 507K. The 407K, which I have, has a 6 MOA dot. The 507K has the 2 MOA dot with the 32 MOA ring around it. They're both great optics. I just prefer the 6 MOA dot that's on this 407K. It's super easy for my eye to pick up, and I don't feel like it's distracting like the circle dot combination. I've actually ran this red dot really hard, and it's been nothing but reliable. It's never failed. It's always retained 0. In fact, I like it so much that I bought the green version for my other Hellcat Pro. Now, like I said, I do have this mounted using the C&H adapter plate. Don't buy those cheap Amazon plates. They're really not very good. I had one, all the edges were sharp. The surface wasn't plain or level, I guess. So my optic actually didn't sit perfectly flat. Spend the extra money, buy the C&H plate. The reason that I'm using a plate is because I did not like the way that the optic sat after the slide was modified to be a direct mount. I didn't like it. Using the plate actually gave the optic more stability. Of course, this slide and barrel, they're not exactly stock. I did have them ported by Floyds Custom shop. Really, I have to say the port job on this gun is a thing of beauty. There's a pretty big difference between a stock configuration Hellcat Pro and this Hellcat Pro when we're talking about recoil. Now, the stock gun for me, honestly, it didn't have a ton of recoil, but I really wanted to try to dial it in and bring the amount of recoil down as much as possible to help speed up and increase accuracy on follow-up shots. Now, sure, a ported gun is quite a bit louder than a stock gun, but also it is a much softer shooting gun than my other one, which has a comp on it. The other bonus to porting a Hellcat Pro is that this one will fit in any Hellcat Pro holster on the market. If you're thinking about porting your Hellcat Pro, just take a look at Floyd's Custom Shop. You're not going to be disappointed with the results. I am, of course, using the DPM recoil reduction spring in this gun. Now, it does lower the recoil a little bit. It's not a huge difference, but there is a difference nonetheless. I'm sure most of you guys have seen all the videos in my Hellcat Pro playlist. If you want to go through and see any of these additions to the gun, you can go watch those videos. Basically, at this point, we have two new additions to this gun since we last spoke about it. The first one is going to be the light, and I ended up landing on the TLR-7A for this thing. Personally, I'm a Streamlight guy. Surefire makes really good products. The thing that has always bugged me is I feel like they're a little bit overpriced for what they are. They're great flashlights, but I don't really see why they cost as much as they do. When it came to picking a light for the Hellcat Pro, it was either going to be the TLR-7A or the TLR-7 Sub. Now the two lights, they're essentially the same as far as all their specifications go. What it boiled down to was the look. I like the way that the 7A looks on the Hellcat Pro a little bit more than the Sub. I know, it's a stupid way to pick a light, right? The thing is, those two lights are basically the same. The body is really the only difference. So really what it does boil down to is which one do you like the look of better? The biggest new addition to my Hellcat Pro is this gas pedal by Go Gun USA. Now, the stock takedown lever on these guns, it really does suck. It feels too smooth, and I always feel my support hand thumb wanting to move and slide all over the place while I'm shooting. Now, I did have the extended takedown lever from Apex installed on this gun, and that was quite a bit better than the stock one. The only thing is it had a bit of a almost sharp edge to it, and it wasn't the most comfortable on my thumb. Then I moved over to this gas pedal right here. This isn't your typical kind of forward and down pressing thumb rest, accelerator, whatever you want to call it. If you really want to use this product, you need to take the time to go to the Go Gun website and read about their OPP or opposable grip. Otherwise, you're not going to see enough of a difference to really justify the purchase. It's not a plug and play type of upgrade. You really have to practice using their grip to start seeing the benefits from it. I actually do like this gas pedal, and I feel like the more that I practice with it, the more stability and control that I have over the gun. If you are open to a new way of doing things, this could be a great upgrade for you. Now, my only apprehension with this product was holsters. Go Gun says that this thing will work with most holsters, and I actually found that to not be the case. They also say if it doesn't work with your holster, you can lightly heat up your holster and remold it around the gas pedal to make it work. I personally don't recommend doing that to a non-light bearing holster. There's a solid chance that by the time you get it remolded properly, you're going to lose most of your retention. Now, if you're using a light bearing holster, that's a little bit different. You can get away with heating and remolding that area without really messing up your retention at all. Me, I'm just using this inside the waistband holster from Packin' Holsters. Check down below for their info. I don't know how he does it, but the retention on this light bearing holster is phenomenal. It really just feels like a standard non-light bearing holster. It has that nice positive click to it when you go ahead and put your gun in there. Not just that, but it has this channel built into it so that you can go ahead and use it with products like the gas pedal. I've been actually really happy with this product. Now, if you're thinking about getting a gas pedal from Go Gun USA, I would highly recommend just reaching out to Packin' Holsters and ordering one of these. Hell, even if you're not going to get a gas pedal, these holsters are great, they're a great price, and they're extremely comfortable. So currently I am at 5,500 rounds through this Hellcat Pro. I've used all kinds of ammo through it. I've used all the standard self-defense ammo. I have used steel cased, I have used brass cased. I've used a few reloads. Primarily though, I've been using the ammo from AAC. Everything from, the 115, 124, 147 grain. I've been using all of it. Out of all the rounds I've put through this gun, I've only seen 2 malfunctions, and those were actually somewhat recent. Both of those malfunctions were out of a single box of Blazer brass cased 115 grain. I think there's an issue with the primers with that particular box of ammo because both of the malfunctions were failure to fire. The striker hit the primer, it dented it, they just didn't go off. One would think that, maybe it's the striker, maybe it's just a light primer strike. But with as many rounds as I put through this gun, I would lean more towards it being an issue with the ammo than it would be with the gun, because like I said, literally no other problems with it. The Hellcat Pro, it really has so much going for it. I've been looking at all kinds of guns, trying to find something that can take its place as the ultimate conceal carry gun, but so far, I haven't found anything I like. Everything seems to come up short. Now, here's a few things that a gun has to have to be able to at least meet or exceed the standard that I've set for having a concealed carry gun. 1 inch or so thickness. Now, I've found that how a gun conceals has more to do with the thickness of the gun than the barrel length or grip length. The Hellcat Pro, being 1 inch thick, is actually really easy to conceal, even though I have added a little bit of size with that gas pedal. A lot of people want a shorter grip or a shorter barrel for better concealment, but I don't find that to be the case. Shorter barrels just make for snappier recoil, which is going to make it harder to get good follow-up shots. Not only that, but barrel length isn't really impeding your ability to conceal the gun. Now, sure, a shorter grip can be helpful for concealment, all the way up to the point that you can no longer get a full grip on the gun. If a gun has to have a pinky extension on the grip in order for me to fit all 4 fingers on there, it's out. I don't feel like it's a great idea to use a gun where I have to break my grip in order to change the magazine. It just doesn't make sense. Next thing on the list, 15 round minimum capacity. If a gun doesn't come with mags that hold at least 15 rounds, I'm not interested. I don't want to have to use mag extensions, and I don't want to have to buy aftermarket mags for it either. Optic ready, regardless of if I'm going to use an optic or not. That's something that should be built into every gun these days, just in case you change your mind later on. If I buy this gun today with the intention of using iron sights and then I change my mind in 3 months, I don't want to have to spend more money to send it off to be milled or trade it in to buy something else. The Hellcat Pro, every one of them comes optic ready. You don't have to buy a different version of it to be able to mount an optic. Next is the accessory rail. Now there's a handful of guns that people always, comment or ask me about as far as being contenders to beat the Hellcat Pro that don't have an accessory rail. Now you may not like to carry a gun that has a light, but you know what? It's still a good idea. If you buy a gun that has no rail, then you can't use a light without an adapter of some sort. If your gun has no light, how are you supposed to positively ID what it is that you're pointing your gun at and potentially shooting? So those are just some of the things that I would require a gun to have to be able to contend with the Hellcat Pro. The Hellcat Pro, it has everything that I like and I consider to be important in a concealed carry pistol. No matter how many rounds I put through it, it just keeps running. It's comfortable to carry, and it's the perfect mix of small enough to conceal well while being large enough to handle well like a larger gun would. Not only that, but the gun is reasonably priced, and you can find it at pretty much every gun store out there. As far as holster selection, everybody makes one. Aftermarket support, obviously not a problem either. If I had to do it all over again, of course I would. If you're in the market for a concealed carry pistol, the Hellcat Pro every single time would be my recommendation. At 5,500 rounds through this gun, I have every bit of confidence in its abilities. Now, I'm going to keep carrying this gun while I continue to look for something else to hopefully dethrone it as the ultimate concealed carry. Till then, get some range time in, and I'll see you back here real soon.